radio show. My name is Precious, and together with me in the studio is Mrs. Um, let me just call her Tayo. Timmy
Timmy
Tayo.
Tayo.
Yes, Timmy Tayo.
Yeah.
And she has been, sharing her story with us. At this point, I would just like to, there's something um, about marriages this year, these days now.
Mm.
Like, you find out that in marriages there are lots of problems, and there's still a lot of sweet things.
Mm-hmm.
I also discovered that they're part of marriage that can be really, 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 really sweet. So if only we can endure some of those bitter parts. But let's just leave that aside. Now, let me now come to your experience as a married woman.
Mm.
Now, from your experience as a married woman, what can you say, in your own opinion, is the major reason for broken marriages in this part of the world?
Mm.
And then, having spoken to so many or
Mm-hmm.
coached so many married people, what would you say is the major reason for broken marriage? Because indeed,
Mm-hmm.
it might not be happening in your neighborhood, but somewhere, at one point in time, a woman is leaving the husband. The husband is
Mm.
saying, "I'm fine, I'm done with this."
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the major reason why,
Mm. So
from your own opinion and
mm,
experience as a
mm-hmm.
married woman?
So basically, there are actually very many reasons. Um, I would say that communication, comes tops. From my experience and from coaching, my experience of coaching, several couples, communication comes tops. Because communication is the medium or the tool to which you get things done in the marriage. So even if you're unhappy, maybe sexually you're unhappy, with respect to how you manage your finances, if you're not communicating, if I don't know what you're feeling, if you don't know what I'm feeling, right? We don't get things done. We don't get it resolved, right? So communication, usually comes tops because it's not enough to even just talk. There's a lot behind communication, right? It's not just to speak, right? I have this acronym that I usually use whenever I talk about communication, and it is the speaking, listening, understanding, responding, and appraising, right? So if I'm speaking, right, I mean, if we're both speaking, we need to also listen to each other. But sometimes we're not patient to listen to each other. Sometimes we interrupt, right, with our own opinion. We don't put ourselves in the shoes of our partners, right? And so we can easily conclude, wrongly, right? So if I listen, I also have to take time to understand where you're coming from, what you're saying from your own angle, right? So if we're not on the same page with respect to understanding, then there's no how we can resolve our issues, right? And so when I understand, then I need to respond appropriately. Because sometimes we don't even respond. In fact, there's actually everything. Sometimes silence is even a response. So if you're not talking, if we're communicating and you're not saying anything, you're actually saying something,
Yeah.
right? So there's a whole lot. Then when you even respond, you need to evaluate, you need to appraise, right? You need to also come back to that issue at a later date to ensure that you're actually, putting the action points you agreed on, to practice. So communication. So people have not mastered, the art and the science of communication in their marriages, all right? And sometimes also we find that people also get married for the wrong reasons, right? So I got married, because I was being maltreated at home, right? And so I felt that getting married would be a safe haven for me, right? Not realizing that the person you're getting married to is also a human being, right? Everybody comes with baggages, right? And so sometimes we also allow our backgrounds,
Influence
yes, to influence,
our decision
our
of wanting to
decision.
go.
Exactly. Exactly. So there's a whole lot communication, but communication actually just comes stops. Then also we have clash of values, right? So what is important to me is not important to you. What is important to you is not important to me. Then what are we doing together? Because two cannot work together except they are in agreement. So there's a whole lot, that gets unraveled. And sometimes there's inadequate preparation, like I mentioned earlier. So
Yeah.
some are just interested in, that one day event. Let's just, the
Press
paparazzi.
release.
and all of that, and they
Yeah.
don't pay attention to, the things that are even more important that would, grant them that enduring, relationship and marriage, right? So things such as, you need to learn how to manage, your emotions. You need to learn how to resolve conflicts. You need to learn how, in fact, you need to learn the upbringing of your partner. I need to learn. I'm just using you as an example,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
for example, right? If I need to learn, how you were raised, you need to learn how I was raised,
that
because
much.
that's, yes,
Really? Oh,
yes.
interesting.
So because that would influence my decisions in marriage, that will influence my actions in marriage, right? So I need to understand, you from that angle. All right.
Yeah. No, no. You mentioned something, and that got me wondering.
Mm,
I don't even know. Probably you listening, you might also share in her opinion.
mm,
But you said you talked about enjoying heaven on earth in
mm-hmm,
marriage.
mm-hmm,
Is that truly achievable? Is it truly achievable to
mm-hmm,
enjoy heaven
mm-hmm.
on earth in marriage? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is it truly
It
achievable
is absolutely, it is possible. It is possible. It is, you can achieve it. You can achieve heaven
from
on
day
earth.
one or
Yes,
from day
from
one?
day one. From day one. And so that's why, I believe so long as you're open to learning, so long as you're open to growing, right? Growing knowledge of each other, because you cannot love who you do not know, right? So the more I know you, the more I would love you, right? The more I know you, the more I would love you. I would know what you do not like, you would know what I do not like, you would know what I like, and we keep growing based on that understanding. So it's very possible to attain heaven.
Heaven on
Yes,
earth. The name
yes, you can
alone said.
enjoy peace, you can enjoy, you can have joy in your marriage, you
Okay,
can,
those are the
of
heaven
course.
on earth.
Oh yes. And then of course you need to know yourself first. You need to discover yourself. You need to master yourself. You need to grow individually, because whatever you see in your marriage is a reflection of your individual
Individual.
growth, right? So it's very, very, very possible to attain that, so long as you're open to learning, right? And unlearning and relearning. Because the moment you stop learning, you start dying, you start, going lean, right?
Okay.
Mm.
And now, how can, because there are lots of people, every this,
Mm-hmm.
permit me to say, will I just say every Saturday
Mm-hmm.
in different locations
Mm-hmm.
in the world, in our country, Nigeria, we have new couples get you see young men and
Yes.
women getting married.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how can intending married couples enjoy heaven on earth in your marriage? I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know. Or maybe
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we can now channel it down to the female folks. How can a
Excuse me.
woman, because this is a woman show, how can a woman that is about to get into marriage, what are there things, how can she, what does she need to do to be able to enjoy
Mm.
heaven on earth in her marriage?
Mm. So first of all, like I said earlier, you need to know yourself. You need to know who you are, right? Once you know who you are, you also need to understand the concept of marriage, right? So you're not, because I think it was Miles Monroe or someone who said, once you don't know the purpose of a thing, then abusing
It's
is
inevitable.
inevitable. So you need to understand the concept of marriage, because the moment you get married, it's not a we thing. It's we, like WeFM.
Okay. Yeah.
It's now we. So all the self-centeredness and everything, selfishness, because naturally as human beings we're selfish, right?
Yes.
So you need to learn how to
Be more
become,
selfless.
yes, be more selfless, right? Because as you're getting married, you're now taking in another person whom you will be accountable to, right? Whom you will work hand in hand together as a team to create your desired kind of marriage. So it is very important that you know yourself, understand the concept of marriage, right? Which is that of teamwork and service. service. You're going there to serve and you're going there to give. You mentioned something about giving when
Yeah.
you're giving introduction, right? Because if you go in there that I just want to come and get, I just want to come and get, then there'll be a problem, right? But once you go in there with the
Mindset.
mindset that
Yeah.
I'm going in to give, and your partner also goes in with that mindset that I'm going to give, then both of you end up getting, right? So that is also important to note. And then, like I said earlier, you also need to understand and master the art of communicating effectively, because communication is everything, honestly. Communication is everything in a marriage. So you need to be open, transparent, consistent in your communication, because sometimes things you can just assume, and then before you know it, you're raising your voices at each other. Before you know it, the whole you're separated,
Okay,
right?
okay, now
So
let's even come to the woman um,
okay.
preparing herself to
Mm-hmm.
enjoy heaven and earth
Mm-hmm.
in marriage. Now, do you know that there are ladies that truly prepare themselves for this?
Yes. Mm.
And then the man that they get married to,
Mm-hmm.
because they did not go
Mm.
and prepare that man, or
Mm.
the man might not prepare himself, or
Mm.
the man might appear half prepared
Mm.
and stuff like that.
Mm.
So, and then like you said, a
Mm.
marriage has to do with teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a situation whereby this woman that has really prepared herself,
Mm.
hoping to enjoy this thing, and then he's
Yeah.
coming to meet this half baked man,
Mm-hmm.
or this man that is not even prepared at all, or
Mm.
this man that appeared to be prepared, and only for you to find out that it's just the opposite.
Mm.
So how would you advise her to handle the situation?
Okay.
Is
So
this something that you have, because this is not the package you there's
what
something
you
that you say,
ordered
and
versus what you
what you
got.
got. So what would you advise her to do?
So I would say that if she really loves the man, then she must be ready to influence change, right? I made mention when I was sharing my story, right?
Yeah.
So you must be ready to influence change, to be patient and influence change, and in that process also encourage your partner to submit himself to learning, right? Because it, it's either you learn or you don't have a marriage, because honestly, learning is critical. Knowledge is critical. There's a place in the scriptures that talks about, the more you increase in knowledge, the more you grow stronger. The more you increase in knowledge, the more you grow stronger. And if your strength fails you in the time of pressure, then your strength is small. And so that strength in that part is you can equate it to knowledge. Then your knowledge is small. Because like I said earlier, the more you grow in knowledge, the more you increase in strength. So knowledge is critical. So if you love your partner, you have to influence change. So you have to influence change, not, impose or try to change your partner, because you cannot change anyone. At best, you can only influence positive change. And whilst you're influencing positive change, you try as much as possible to encourage your partner to also submit himself to learning. There's nothing that everything is learnable. Everything is learnable. It may just take time, but everything is learnable. So whilst is learning, you are also influencing change. And before you know it, I always say that everyone who wants to get married should have a coach, must have a coach. It is very important. It is very important. In fact, world's best leaders, that every leader we see, they have someone behind, they have coaches, right? And so it's very important that you have a coach, that you are accountable to, somebody neutral, a professional coach that you are accountable to, that can keep you in check, right? And yeah, so that's my little advice for that woman who has prepared herself and then meets this other. And in fact, that's what also inspired me to now help even many couples, to be intending couples, right? So I don't just help the woman, I help both of them together. I coach them, right? I put them together and take them through the processes, the learnings, and everything they need to learn before they get married. And then after marriage, we now have this accountability program, right, wherein they're accountable, to me, right? Maybe on a month, depending on what they want, a monthly basis, bi-monthly, and we just have a session, and just to appraise, how far they've come, and the things that they need to also improve on.
Okay, now let's come to your mission, which is
Mm-hmm.
to help intending couples to enjoy heaven on earth marriage.
Mm,
Now, in your own bit, to see the actualization of this your great mission,
mm,
um, what and what what and what
mm,
are you currently doing?
mm-hmm.
Aside the okay, you have a connect,
Couple connect.
couple connect,
Yeah.
and that's still in a bit
Mm-hmm.
to help you actualize that.
Yes, it's in a bit
Okay,
to
so
help
how
me.
effective is all the things that you are doing, both the community you have on
Yes.
social media
Mm-hmm.
and the group you founded,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
how effective do you see
Mm,
so far what you are doing to actualizing this mission, great mission of helping couples
mm-hmm.
enjoy
Mm,
heaven on earth
mm.
marriage? How effective will you say?
Yes, I would say it's effective because I get feedbacks, right? And like I said earlier, the feedbacks just keep me going, and so I get positive feedbacks, right? And then when you coach or put out content in a group, right? And you now get individuals coming to you, after the general content I've put, or maybe I did a live video
Yeah,
or something, and you now get individuals coming, to the DM, to the
yeah,
inbox, to say,
yeah,
this thing you talked about, how can I go about it? I need more. I need to learn more. I need to know more. So at the moment, I have groups, different groups, where I coach even couples. I created like groups for them, individual groups, because I really believe in, that one-on-one coaching, that one-on-one touch, because no marriage is the same. No marriage, no relationship is the same. Every
yeah.
marriage is different because we are all different,
Oh,
right? So
different,
marriage
wired
A
differently.
wired differently.
Yeah,
Yes. So marriage A is different from marriage B. Married relationship A is different from relationship B, based on their unique individualities, their
yeah.
personalities, their temperaments, right? So that one-on-one is always very effective. And that's where I find my strength, and that's where I get, lots of feedback. And also I've been able to I recently published a book called Start Right,
Mm.
right? And that also, I documented everything there. So in fact, any intending couple who picks that book, it's like a manual, it's a blueprint for you, to go through and get yourself fully equipped, for the, happy
Journey
marriage that you
ahead.
desire.
All right, now let's tap from your emotional intelligence skills now. Now, what emotions should a woman take note of that is
Mm,
capable of making her marriage life miserable? You know, I know that there are emotions that
mm,
can actually make not just a married person, even
mm,
just a normal lady,
mm,
you can even make that lady. But I
mm,
want them to hear it now from someone that is so
mm,
specialized in
mm,
this. So, what are those emotions that women, that
mm,
woman that is listening to you right now,
mm,
that she needs to take note of? That emotion that she's holding or she's allowing um, is capable of making her married life miserable. What
mm,
emotions
mm.
does she need to take note of?
So I just mentioned there are several emotions. I'll just mention this one because it keeps reoccurring, and it is anger, right?
Mm.
Anger is an emotion.
Yeah.
Anger is an emotion, and it has, if it's not well managed, right, it can literally just scatter and destroy your marriage, right? So anger is one emotion that whether be it in marriage or even if it's not in marriage, generally as individuals, we need to, and one way to check that is to identify the triggers, that thing, because sometimes you just say, oh, I've moved on, I've forgiven you, and I've moved on, but somehow you've not really moved on within you. There's that trigger. Anytime you see or you experience that situation, or
Mm.
maybe something similar, the trigger comes
Or
up
even someone
again.
mentions something,
Exactly. Exactly. So you've not really moved on. So it's important to take note of the triggers. What is that thing triggering the anger? Is it a word? Is it whatever? So maybe someone, maybe your husband says a particular thing, then you get all, you're angry, and then you're boiling, you're ranting all over and all of that. So anger in itself is not, it's not bad. It's okay, because we all get angry, right?
Yeah.
But it's important for you to set a bounce back time. So you set a bounce back time or an anchor for yourself. Like, okay, maybe when I'm angry, the first thing I'll do is to breathe in, right? Breathe in and then breathe out. Maybe like six, you can take like six cycles, right? Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Or you just pause. You don't talk. You count like 10 or 6 before you talk. And so what that space does for you is it helps you get yourself, it helps you calculate your thoughts, your words, so that you don't just talk anyhow. You don't just say something that will end up, destroying your relationship forever. Right. So
This time around, it's not even about the relationship, it's about the
exactly.
individual.
Exactly.
Because,
Mm-hmm.
a relationship, you can be in a relationship with
Mm-hmm.
someone, and that
Mm,
person might be all good.
mm,
But you in
mm-hmm.
that marriage, or
Mm-hmm.
you in that relationship, you, that woman, you're
Exactly.
feeling miserable
Exactly.
every now and then. And
Mm.
probably the person that you are even angry with, maybe your husband, he doesn't
You're
even
not
feel it.
even, yeah.
And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted us to,
You
look
know.
into this, so that
Mm.
it will help you to be able to take note.
Yes.
It's just like, I don't know. Let me not call it a red flag now.
Mm.
Take note of that particular thing
Yes.
that is capable of. You are in that place.
Yeah.
As far as you are still in that place, that thing will still keep coming and go. And if
Yes.
you don't know how to check it, like you
Mm-hmm.
have chosen anger.
Mm.
Okay, for some people, I
Mm.
think it might even also have to do with, even, will I say, even jealousy.
Yes. Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
so these are things that we need
Mm.
to also check. So I
Mm.
just want to agree with you on
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying now.
Mm.
Before you also tell us, before you tell us, the emotion that can, that lady in question, that woman listening to you right now, can adopt to help her have a happy married life. Now, let me quickly open up the phone line, should, in case you
Okay.
have someone who want to ask a question or have a contribution to what we are looking at. Because time check in the studio is 1:26. Oh yes, 1:26. And you're still listening to Winning Woman here on WeFM 106.3, The Power of Talk. The studio lines for you to call and maybe contribute or talk to us, to our guests here in the studio, is just call 081 768 72132, 081 768 72132, or you can call or send a WhatsApp message to 090 5353 5305. I'll take that again: 090 5353 5305. What are some emotions that a woman need to adopt
Mm.
to help her? Now, permit me, Precious is being selfish this time around. Now, that will help that woman to be able to live her as a person, that will help her to be able to live a happy married life.
In fact, you mentioned it. Happiness, right?
Happiness itself. So, what is
Happiness,
happiness?
joy,
What is
right?
happiness?
Love.
What is happiness?
You create you create your world. You create your happy. Create your kind of happy. What makes you happy, right? What makes you
Okay.
happy? What makes me happy, right? So create your happy space, right, within you, right? And then there's this emotion that really helps me a lot, right? It's, I don't even know whether to call it emotion. It's just being positive generally, right? So no matter what happens, I remain positive, right? So even if I get angry, like I said earlier, that I set a bounce back time.
Hmm.
So I know that in fact, before I get to that anger state, right, already, because I've already identified my trigger. So I already know that if you don't check it here, you're definitely going to get angry, and then from anger, and then it comes to, because anger doesn't just start as anger. At first it could start as displeasure. You're displeased over something, and if you do not discuss it with your partner, then you keep boiling, and then it leads to resentment, and it begins to get deeper and deeper, right? So being positive is something that it really helps me a lot, and I think that it can help every woman listening here. I remember there was a time that at the beginning of our marriage, we waited, before we had our first child, right? And when we eventually had, there was a whole lot going wrong and everything. And, to cut a long story short, I had my baby preterm. She was 1.2 kg when we gave birth to her. And even when she came, we had to spend extra time, like one month, over a month in the hospital, and a whole lot because I started bleeding. It was bleeding consistently for 3 weeks. That
Wow.
led me to that phase, that state, the taking out the baby, so as to avoid fetal, distress, and everything. But throughout that phase, I was positive. I'm very sincere. Like throughout the phase, I kept getting strength from within. I kept getting strength from. So I took away everything that would make me, tensed. Like I switched off my phone because I knew that would. So that's why I said you need to know yourself. You need to master yourself. Know the things that make you angry. Know the things that get you pissed. Know the things that. So because I know that once I get a phone call and then I start getting pity party. Ah, sorry.
It reminds you of your present
you
condition
know
and all
you
that.
so yeah, so I needed to stay with myself and stay with my maker and just communicate with him and just be in that state where, in fact, my doctor then had to say, wow, the day he came, he was like, this is our most encouraging patient in
Wow.
the hospital, right? Because even when it comes out, engage him, ask him questions and everything. So that positivity, no matter what happens, I would keep my cool. No matter what happens, I would be positive, right? And that also comes from a place of knowing yourself. It comes from a place of, that love. You have love for yourself. You know yourself. So no matter what anybody does, I mean, because really, you can't control how others behave towards you, but
That's
you
right.
can control yourself. You
The
can
way you
control your
take, the way
thoughts,
you
yes,
react to
and
how they
react.
behave to you.
Exactly.
That's true. Now,
Exactly.
there's this saying that I love so much, and I always want to say it. I don't know if it also has something to play with that. There's this saying that goes this way: says that nothing means anything
Hmm.
except for the meaning
Meaning
you
you
give
give
to
to
it.
it.
Now, I want to suggest, but I don't know, but I'm just feeling, in my own opinion, I also
Okay.
think that if a woman um decides not to take things too seriously,
Personal.
having in mind that nothing means anything except for the meaning
Meaning
you
that you
give
give
to
to
it,
it.
I think it will also help us,
Absolutely.
to
Absolutely.
live a happy life too.
Absolutely.
Not just even in marriage,
Mm-hmm.
in life in
Mm-hmm.
general.
Because those things influence our thoughts, and your
Exactly.
thoughts influence your emotions, how you feel, and
Exactly.
then how you feel influence your actions.
Exactly.
So thoughts, feelings, and actions.
You
So
know,
you need to guide it from your thoughts.
yes,
So, like
from
you said,
within,
yes,
yes.
from within you. So
Yes.
nothing means anything except the meaning you attach to it, right?
Exactly.
So if you're even slapped, for instance, if you say, "Oh, maybe he had a bad day or she had it," I'm
No,
not
I'm not,
supporting domestic violence.
no,
I'm
not
just
at
using that
all.
as an example,
You
right?
know,
If somebody shouts at you or somebody, you can just, you know just let it go. Maybe then later we can, discuss
hash
it.
it out,
So yeah, because that our thoughts is very important. The way we think, the way we interpret incidences that occur, you know tells us how we will feel about that incidents, and then your feelings determine how you would act or react.
yeah, this is not a church program, but I just have to tell you this Bible passage. It is a
Mm.
Bible passage that says that as a man
Think
thinketh
it
in his heart,
on his heart.
so is he.
So easy.
So I think really need to
Guard our hearts.
guide our
Yes.
hearts, and
Yes.
the kind of thoughts we allow
Mm-hmm.
to go around inside it. We need to
Mm-hmm.
be strong, we need to be clean, we need to be happy, everything. We need to
Mm-hmm.
coordinate the within
Yes.
before it translates as a
Exactly.
happy outside that
Mm-hmm.
people get to see and want to
Mm-hmm.
associate with you.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, because the time is just
I
up,
know,
I just
right?
have to let you go. But before you go, before you
Mm.
leave this first segment, please just, I
Mm.
would like I know that woman that is listening to you out there too. You've gone through a lot. You've passed through so many experiences, but from your marriage, you've learned from older women too, and other couples too, and all of that. So, but I would just want you to give a final word to that single lady or married woman that is listening to us right now.
Mm.
What would be your final word of advice,
Mm.
encouragement, whatever, to
Yeah.
end of the segment?
So I'll just say never stop learning and growing. Open yourself to learning, continuous learning and growing, and anything you want to be, you can actually be. anything you desire, whether in your personal life, in your relationship, in your business, career, you can actually, get it. You can actually, have it manifested if you believe and put in the work. I always put that put in the work aspect because sometimes, we
It's not enough
depend,
to believe.
yes, we pray, we depend on God, whereas God is depending on us because He has equipped us with everything that we need.
Yeah,
Right, so it's just to implement, to put in the work, and
press the right
get
buttons.
the, yes, and get the results that you desire. So
Exactly.
keep learning and keep growing.
Keep learning and keep growing. Thank you so much. It has been an
You're
amazing time because
welcome.
I know I'm watching your time and also watching my time. I just
Yes.
have to let you go. Thank you so much. And
Thank you
you
for
have been
having me.
listening. You've been hearing from Mrs. Temi Tayo Ogunaike. I got that
Have a good
right.
night, Kate.
Ogunaike. Thank you so much. We'll continue the show. Please do not change it down. This is still Winning Woman. And we'll go on a very short break. When we'll come back, we'll be wrapping up on the second segment because we have something amazing, something really, really surprising.